Good afternoon. So glad you're here. I know it's the end of the day. Everybody's kind of that drag point where you're like, okay, I got to bring it back together here. But certainly excited that you can be a part of this. And so this is a little bit different. We're going to kind of spin it in a different direction at this point, talking about cooperatives, public power, and some of the challenges that they're facing. And so I've had the distinct privilege over the last 5-6 years to work with co-ops across the country and really deal with some of the issues that they're having to deal with related to budgets, related to staffing, retirement folks, where institutional knowledge is walking out the door, it feels like every day. And that's what I hear about every day, is that how are we going to continue what somebody has done for the last 40 years? And so there's a lot of challenges facing cooperatives, public power, that we're going to talk today about. And so I have 4 folks here with me. I'm going to introduce them. So it's not just their name and their title and they don't say anything else. So I'm going to give a little bit more detail about who these folks are, and then we'll jump in right away. So the person to my left is Jade Morris. And so Jade is the Utility Vegetation Coordinator for Upshur Rural Electric Cooperative in Texas. Go for any of those from Texas or talk like us from Texas. At Upshur Rural, my main role is to assist in the planning, coordination, and direction of all activities concerning our utility right-of-ways. Graduated from Stephen F. Austin State University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Forestry and Wildfire Management. Prior to joining Upshur, she worked with Texas A&M, for those Aggies in the room, Forest Service, as a forester, public information officer, and wildland firefighter. This gave her great opportunities to interact with the public, operate heavy equipment, the smallest operator in Texas of heavy equipment, deal with fire suppression and land management. So we're so glad you're here. Next in line is Mr. Mark Moreno. Mark is the Vice President of Reliability and Field Engineering at Central Virginia Electric Cooperative, bringing more than 23 years of power distribution experience and a people-centered leadership style. He oversees vegetation management, engineering, procurement, contract operations with a focus on system reliability and community service. Mark holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Texas, another Texas, you'll hear all the accents here in a second, and an MBA from Columbia Southern University as a licensed professional engineer, and has led major outage mitigation and reliability initiatives across several utilities. So thank you, Mark, for being here. And now we have Matt Dykes, also from Upshur Rural Electric Cooperative. He is the power quality supervisor, obviously located in Texas as well. With nearly a decade of utility vegetation experience, his primary role is centered around mitigating outages and a continuous pursuit of providing reliable electric service to their members. He's responsible for all vegetation management across the RECC system, as well as overseeing crews. He graduated with Jade, a few years difference, but from Stephen F. Austin University with a degree in forest management, and is an ISA certified arborist, utility specialist, and an FAA unmanned aerial vehicle pilot, and a level 1 thermographer, which is a lot of words for someone to read. And then last but not least, Mr. John Buckley is the Director of Work Management, Energy Delivery at Omaha Public Power District, and has a broad vegetation management, work planning and scheduling, project management, distribution, construction, and contractor management, and lean process improvement experience with public power utilities. As a Director of Work Management, John is responsible for several departments in the division, including veg management, T&D work planning and scheduling, and underground facility locating. So would you just please welcome these folks who are here to share with us today. So as we talk about in the public power world, there's a lot of challenges that we have to be faced with. And so when I look at, the 900 plus co-ops across the country, and almost 2,000 in the public power space, that's a lot of power utility companies that have challenges and issues that they need to address. And so our hope today is this is really conversational. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a lot of scripts happening when we get up here. We are not that group from public power. We're going to wing it and let's have some fun. And so I'm just going to open with some conversations, let them go. And so, one of the things we talk about is what are some of the biggest challenges that you all have faced in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, and where did that kind of go? And what are some of the things that you're doing to address those challenges. How did you address those challenges? What are the ways you've addressed those challenges? And so I'm going to start with John. How's that?
All right. Yeah, I would say the challenges started probably in 2009 through 2019. We had 3 major budget cuts on veg management. So everybody knows it's a big O&M bucket, and when things get challenging, you're trying to keep rates low for your customers, they go grab money out of that bucket. So me and my team kept saying, it's gonna be a problem. Maybe not this year, maybe not the year after. And so about 3 years ago, it did become the problem. We had a big major storm. We had a lot of circuits we hadn't been in 10 to 12 years, and we saw a lot of outages, a lot of customers upset, a long restoration because of a lot of tree damage. And so, my bosses gave me a directive, gotta help us understand this. How can we communicate this? And so I was at Distributech in 2020, came by AiDASH's booth and started talking to them. It was like, wow, this looks like a great tool where I can visualize this data. Before I just had an Excel spreadsheet trying to convince board members, trying to convince senior management, hey, we need more money. Here's where we're at because we didn't spend right over the years. And so it gave me a great graphic tool to start getting some money. I didn't get more money every year, but the last 2 years it's driven that spend where now we can start to get caught up. It also changed our whole program too. We went from, as you heard from some of the speakers earlier, to an approach where instead of trying to get everything on a 5-year cycle, AiDASH gave us some insight, say some of your circuits can't last more than maybe 2.5, 3 years. Some can last longer. So we broke our crews up into segment, which take care of the worst, and then we prioritized on our maintenance work. So AiDASH really gave us that ability to kind of change the narrative on that. And so now we've got, we had a board committee meeting last week, and one of the board members is like, hey, we like this data. It explains to us why we're giving you this extra money for tree trimming, and really helped explain things. So just that power of data and data visualization really helped us out there.
Oh, that's great. How about for Matt and Jade? Whoever wants to go first, kind of talk about Upshur and what you're kind of doing in Texas.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. I'd say one of the bigger struggles at Upshur Electric is dead trees, hazard trees, whatever term you have for it. But pretty much like a couple months ago, our VP of engineering came to me. He's over reporting dead trees and things, and Sadie and Katie numbers, and he said, hey, had an increase in dead tree outages. Like, what are you doing about that? And I was like, I don't know. Cutting them, that was kind of at the time, but we'd started a conversation with AiDASH and dealing with some folks, and we're getting closer and closer, and I was like, I got this program. I've been talking, to these guys for a while, and that's kind of what led us to AiDASH was, there was a problem, and they wanted an answer, and kind of led us to kind of getting to where we're scanning a part of our system, not all of it, giving money and stuff, but you're looking at the vegetation department up here, so covering 6,500 miles of line a year is quite a feat. So we're thinking a little bit smarter, and also, in my opinion, it's going to help take away human error, complacency, laziness. So I could go on and on about all the human characteristics that change the way you look at a tree or a dead tree or any of that matters. But yeah, that was kind of our struggle was dead tree, limiting those outages and being able to see a large portion of our system at one time. So
yeah. So Jade, let me ask you real quick. So from your perspective, when you think about the things that you're dealing with when you have this two-person group that has to manage all of these things, what are some of those deciding factors of how are you going to be strategic? How are you going to go through that process?
Yeah, I would say that's another challenge that we faced in the last 3 years. Our co-op's experienced a lot of different factors and changes, and a lot of it has stemmed, at least in our department, like I said, Matt and I, it's just us. So we're the ones that see what's working, what's not, and so we just kind of had to identify when we were asked, what are you doing about this? Why are you not doing this? How can we improve this? Well, to be frank, we don't we don't have an unlimited budget. Like I'm sure a lot of co-ops across this country, we just, we don't ask and receive immediately. So we're having to use programs like AiDASH to do more with less or the same amount. And so at the end of the day, being a co-op, you know, it might be cliche to say, but we do everything that we do for our members, for their reliability, for just frankly to keep their lights on. So what we invest in and what we put our time into working towards, we want it to mean something to them and for it to reflect that we want the best for them. So putting our faith in programs like AiDASH and everything, that's, you know, it's all of our faith in it for the betterment of our co-op.
Yeah. Yeah. Putting that into perspective, most people have, you know, maybe stockholders to answer to. We have 40,000 owners. So each person is an owner of the co-op, so it's a little different. So when you go out there and you're discussing vegetation management and other issues with them, you've got to understand that that is an owner. It's not just a stockholder that's somewhere. And they live on your system. They live on your system. We have some of the same challenges larger utilities have. Heavily wooded areas. I used to live in Texas and moved to Virginia, and I thought, man, East Texas has lots of trees. I go up there and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know. 65% of all of our outages are tree outages outside the right-of-way. Very large percentage. Just to put that in perspective, 1,064 tree outages a year, which comes out to about 3 tree outages every day. So you can see that that is a big focus that we want to focus on a lot of the vegetation management. That's where a lot of our outages come from. The other thing that we had is everything was on paper when I got there. So how did you? I had one forester. So we were talking about the 2 foresters. At the time, I had one forester, 27 years experience. So he has the experience at the time. But everything was, his name was Ronnie, and it was like, let's put a sticky note on Ronnie's desk and tell him there's some trees we got to cut down here. And Ronnie, he knew the system like the back of his hand. Of course, that's not going to last forever. He did retire last year. And so we have a new group of foresters. And we were going toward the satellite vegetation management model just when he was going out the door. And it's really, in the first 4 months, we have now gone no paper maps in the first 4 months. Our contractors are using the work management system. A couple of quick wins that we had. I was in a meeting with Laura, she's the new forester, and she gets something on her phone and it says, oh yeah, the crews are working. She looks at it, they transmit a picture of what they had. Okay, you can't do this with paper maps, okay? So they give her a picture and she looks at it and she goes, oh, well, you missed one over here. Y'all need to go ahead and get that while you're there. That's huge. That is huge. Otherwise, they leave it there, and we have to pay for them to go right back and do the same thing. That's a huge savings right there. Another time, we got the contractors inputting information into the system, and they said, well, do we still have to fill out our paper sheets to tell you what we did that day and get it? And she goes, no. And so the contractors were joyous. They're like, oh, there's one thing we don't have to do. We're actually taking work away. And so they started entering a lot of information into the system because of that. They're like, oh, okay, well, if you're going to take this piece of work away, well, we're going to enter that information. So our transition as far as change management has not been, from what I hear, as onerous as others. The other thing that we did for our contractors, we did specify in the contract a year ahead of time to say you must be able to have an electronic device to connect to our system as part of the contract. So we are moving into that data-driven area. And again, like everyone else, you have a limited budget to do that. But you know, what is going to be your next step? Do you just continue what you're doing? And the answer is no, obviously. How are you going to move forward? What's your next step? And that's one of the things when we did the proof of concept with AiDASH, they asked the one question that nobody asked, okay? When they looked at it, they said, would you act upon this tree? And the answer was yes. And so they were very adamant about not just giving me data because, oh yeah, there's a tree we identified right here, but would you do anything with it? That's very crucial when you're a small co-op, because you can give me all of these trees and I do not have the resources to get to them. I have to prioritize those trees. So it was a big eye-opener. There's other co-ops that they're like, okay, we're in a wait and see mode. We kind of see the benefits, but we want to wait and see. But again, like I said, we've already had in the first 4 months 2 wins, not necessarily Katie type win, but definitely a cost savings win right off the bat.
Yeah. Well, I think how many folks are from Public Power that are in the room? Like a few? So a few of us here. And I think one of the hardest parts that I see, especially after the number of years of traveling, so I used to travel with Federated Insurance for those that are co-op folks. And so one of the big things I hear and see over and over again is, hey, these are the only things that we can do, or this is our limits. And it's amazing how many in the public power space talk about the limits of what they can't do. And I think what I've seen that's starting to change in that co-op space or in that public power space is not about the limits, but what priorities and what strategies can we enact to do something different. And so, I'm really interested from your guys' perspective, for you guys, you're a little bit more progressive, trying to move down that path. How do you go about doing that within your co-op infrastructure? Maybe there's some products or things that you've done that really kind of impact those things. What would that look like? I know, John, you were going to talk about a few things related to that.
Yeah, so we had a big storm a few years ago, and we're not on AMI yet, and it was a pretty major storm. And we had lots of customers that started to get on the news like, oh, I thought the utility knew I was out of power. And we got a new CEO at the time, and he had to go on the news and say, yeah, we don't know that you're out. You gotta tell us that you're out. And it was kind of a big realization for the organization. He said, I never want to be on TV to say that again, right? So we embarked on a big AMI and digital transformation project, and everything went live last year, and we were pretty innovative there and kind of push, but 7 systems, a new OMS system, a new GIS, a new field service management, new EAM, CCMB, customer portal, and ADMS system for putting our AMI meters in place. And so, through that process, we kind of, our president kind of let down to our team. It's like, hey, we've got to be innovative. We've got to spend this dollar the best way we can, right? So, these programs are pretty expensive, but it's going to provide us that information going forward where we can have that better communication with the customer, a portal. So, I don't know if anybody familiar with, people ask, we want the Uber experience, right? When can I see a truck on the map that's driving to my house to put my line back up, right? So, those are real things that, I think utilities are facing and have to deal with. And so we're down that pathway there, but also, with that digital transformation, we've gotten a better relationship with our IT folks and build that data together. So we got Power BI, and then we got folks on our teams that are like, hey, I can let me dabble in that, right? So we've got dashboards now for all of our circuits that report out, how many units were trimmed on this circuit, when were they trimmed, how many man hours, what's the reliability data for that circuit, right? So that we can pop those up and like I said earlier in my remarks, communicate to the senior leadership, the people that hold the purse strings, and to our customers hey, we're actually doing something. We're tracking this. We're trying to figure out how to solve these problems. because of those budget cuts, our tree-related outages are up to almost 50% of all our outages as we finished last year. A lot of it's because we're very far behind and we had a couple stormy years. But having that data, having that stuff set up, you know, the partnership with AiDASH and how they're growing and developing with us is really kind of a game changer. Like, you know, I've got 3 foresters, right? You have 2 foresters, right? And so I think it's part of public power where, it's a blessing and it's a curse, right? So you figure out a lot of ways to solve things. And one of the speakers earlier today said, yeah, we're really good at workarounds, but as you mature in technology, you've got to get rid of the workarounds, right? And it's like, no, there's no rewards for finding something. You know, we got this brand new system for scheduling. We already had people trying to do workarounds. I was like, no, tell us where it's broken and then we'll fix it. We don't want to be in the workaround business anymore. And so, you know, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, I think, for public power. But it's exciting, and you know, you can get your hands dirty and get in and do a lot of things. So,
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback off of him. Being at a co-op, you might be in front of the board one day and help him pick up line the next. It's just the co-op way. I can honestly tell you, probably everybody up here on the stage has probably done that similar. One day doing this, next day doing that. You kind of wear a lot of hats. And with that being said, you kind of got to appreciate the old ways, but you got to push towards the new. Like Mark said, we were very much old school paper maps until a few years ago. Had old map numbers, old military grid style map numbers, which is great for the time period. But we moved forward to a digital platform for our work orders and service orders. We had crews driving past jobs to come get their paper job just to turn around and go back. So that was maddening. And it was just what was adopted, what was given to me, and that kind of had to change. So like I said, that co-op mentality of you wear a lot of hats, it's something that's starting to change with us at Upshur Rural, starting to have. It was 1 forester up until 3 years ago, and then, 2. So as we grow, staff grows and our contractors grow. But I think kind of moving along with the times has helped us out tremendously.
Yeah, I think we need to move from I guess the connotation of vegetation and trimming is a necessary evil and an expense that you have, and move that toward a strategic reliability investment. I like to call it that. That's kind of where we're moving with this platform, is to be more strategic in what we do. And we have been on cycle trims for the last 15 years. So we've done the cycle trim, and now, the question is, well, what is your next step? And it's exactly what some of the larger utilities is. It's cycle optimization. That's our next step. But again, I would say you've got to start somewhere. You've got to take that first step toward that digitizing all of your information. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect by all means the first time you get out there. But if you don't get started, you're never gonna catch up. Technology is there. I remember someone in the panel said something about, well, okay, we have the technology now. The people and the processes is what we really need to focus on, and that couldn't be more true.
Yeah, I would say the surprise for me is we went away from paper packets this year for our line crews. We've been paperless for our veg crews, but the young guys were just super excited. And there was a delay as when the new work orders came out. They're like, when do I get the new digital work for it? I'm tired of this paper. When do I get it? When do I get it? And then you got the old guys. It's like, gosh, maybe I'm going to retire in a year. Maybe I can lay low and not have to mess with this new tool for another year. Maybe I'll get the apprentice to run it for me. But I would say, 85% of our line workers were really embracing this tool, right? And, one of the other surprises was some of our older school leadership, some of the field soups are pushing back. Oh, I need some more time to figure this out, and we had like an 18-month ramp up for this. So, those pieces are there, but I think I was surprised, and I think a lot of other people would be surprised that the workforce today, and they grew up with a smartphone or a handheld device, they really embrace that, and work with that. So
That's good. One of the things that I was in a board meeting, I won't say with who, but, and so it's funny because in this co-op space, a lot of time people talk about how they want to be progressive, right? I want to be progress, let's go. And it's always interesting to me because when I ask, okay, so what's the biggest cause of progress? And it's change, and then they're like, yeah, no, I'm out. And so it's kind of an interesting dichotomy for when you think about, you know, everybody wants to progress towards something, but there's a cost to it, right? There's an expense to it, and there's an expensive time and energy and effort in communication to really create that progress. And so one of the questions I have for you guys is that if you could go back even a year, at last 18 months, is there something that you've done that you said, I wish I would have done this faster, quicker, let's get there because we've seen different results that really impacted us in a powerful way?
Yeah, I would say for our co-op at least, kind of what's been the theme of all the panels and underlying theme I've heard from a lot of folks is making that move towards going digital with everything sooner. Our co-op was very traditional in the way that we did things. Like Matt just said, we were all paper. And the amount of time that our contracting crews were, you know, for lack of a better word, wasting, coming to us every day in the mornings before ever even looking at a tree that they were getting ready to cut was astronomical. And just making that switch, once Matt and I realized that the amount of time that was being wasted, and we looked at it and we said, there has to be a better way for us to do this. There has to be a more efficient way to do more with what we have. And so I think once we got that ball rolling and we had that thought and we put that thought out there to our upper management and the people that support us and the changes that we've been trying to do, we said, just let us try it. Just let us do one little thing and let us show you the little change that it can make and how beneficial it can be. Once we were able to have that chance and to do that one little thing, we had a lot of people that said, oh, you don't say. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. And after that, we had a lot of support to make changes towards the more digital side, getting rid of the map numbers. We got our contractors iPads. They all operate off of iPads and contractor-only versions of our system that oversees all of our entire system. And it's been, I don't know any other way to say it other than just a complete 180. And it's also helped in showing our board, showing our members the correlation between the changes that we made and the amount of work and success that we've had in our maintenance trimming, our day-to-day operations. We have hourly crews that you know, cut problem areas, just very specific target areas. Our new right-of-ways when we have new services, and then we also have our cycle-based maintenance trimming going on. So it's been nice to have that digital footprint just to make that correlation. So I would say for us, it would have been to do that a lot sooner.
Good.
Yeah. I'll add on top of that. So Jade's been at Upshur for about 3 years, and I'm guilty because I think I just went along with it for a while, went along with the paper thing, and it wasn't until she came and lost some hair, some hair pulling. She looked at me and said, "Matt, there's got to be a better way."
If y'all only knew.
So no, it was a collective group effort between me and her, kind of just there has got to be a better way.
Yep.
And that was a big step for us. It was kind of an uneasy step because it involved IT and you know, management and so on and so forth, and a lot of steps, a lot of stuff. NIC had to jump in and help us, you know, navigate, you know, contractor version, you know, what information, like the members' information, can they see? What legally can they not see? You know, stuff like that. They can upload pictures, like was previously mentioned. So yeah, that big step. It's, I mean, don't get me wrong. It seems scary, but our contractors love it now. I think Mark alluded to the fact that they're not having to do so much, they're not having to keep up with so much. I know they would get frustrated when a map number was not exactly correlated with the address, or there was, you know, some sort of mistake made, whereas that iPad has a pin drop and it makes life, they just click go and takes them to their job, and it's got the notes from, you know, for the service order, and then they can complete it, and so on and so forth. So that has been a great addition to our vegetation department, and like Jade said, I'll resonate. Just doing it sooner. Yeah. It would have made tremendous leaps now. We'd have been that much further.
Yeah, and I agree with both of them, okay? I'm an engineer by trade, so I have to study the heck out of everything before I make a decision, okay? And I'm trying to get out of that a little bit, okay? But again, having it sooner, it's not going to be the perfect program, but as an engineer, I'm going to dot every I and cross every T and make sure everything's okay. Well, that costs you a lot of time trying to get the perfect system. Well, what if this or what if that? And again, you're going to have to make that progression and step in that direction with maybe 80%, I would say, and make that decision. Yes, we're going to go to the data, and this is the direction that we're going. No, it's not exactly how you used to do it. We may have to change a couple of things, but all in all, again, go to it sooner, okay? And I think I was probably the holdup, okay? I was probably the holdup at the time. So don't make that same mistake that I did.
Yeah, I would say, you know, kind of in line here is that when we went, our push we started about 18 months ago, and we went to our craft and our union leadership and said, we want, you know, we want a line tech, we want a meter tech, we want, you know, one of each, an underground guy, to be on this team and be with us from start to finish. And from product selection through requirements planning and everything. So we got and we asked for that from engineering and customer and everything else, but I would say we got the most commitment from the craft. And, you know, because they knew they were going to have this hands on it, and they knew that everybody else in the union knew that they were the guy that was on this team. So if it didn't come out the way they wanted, you know, they had skin in the game. And so that worked really well. I think if I was to do it over again, I wouldn't assume that the rest of the non-craft, this quote, professionals in the organization would behave the same way as those craft guys did. So we got towards the end or even after go live and people would tell us, well, I guess I should have spoke up, you know, a year ago. This isn't really how we do it, right? You know, and so you're like on the fly trying to fix and rebuild and stuff. So if I had it all over again, I would be more diligent across all users of the platform to make sure that they understand when they need to speak up, why they need to speak up, and how they need to contribute to the build out of that technology. I mean, it just doesn't happen on its own, right? And I think some people in the organization have been through technology where IT just did it to them, right? You're going to get this technology. And the way it works today in the cloud is we're doing it together, right? It's like we'll build this together and then operate it after that. So that's where I would kind of retrace my steps if I had a chance to do it over again.
Good. You know, as we kind of wrap up here with these folks, one of the things that I'd like them to share just kind of in the last minute or two for each of you is kind of when you think about public power co-op world over the next year, 18 months, couple years, 3 years, you know, what do you think kind of some of the big things that you're going to have to deal with in that world? And what some of those challenges that we're going to face that are probably a little bit different, maybe the same tone as some of the IOUs, but certainly a little bit different as we move forward and what that looks like for you. So who wants to tackle it first? We'll go Mark. How's that?
Yeah, some of the things that we see as challenges is reliability in trees. And when I say that, let me explain a little bit. How many in a room have a 153-mile circuit? A couple. Yeah, I know Cindy, she's a co-op just above us. And it's all overhead. So I think reliability is going to be a big challenge. The clientele in the rural areas is changing. With remote work, everybody expects the power to be on at all times. And when you have 53 miles of exposure, that becomes very challenging. So I see the biggest challenge that we have is the reliability. And I've always said the best outage is no outage. And so cutting those trees and being able to stretch our budget, it's about hitting the right trees. I can cut all the trees in the world, but if it's not the right trees, then I'm wasting money at that point. But yeah, the biggest challenge is the reliability perception of those who are moving maybe from a metro area to a rural area to work remotely to see the mountains and you know, you love it, but their expectations are a lot different than those who have been there for a very long time. So I think that that's going to be our challenges in the future as remote work continues to progress, and ensuring that all of our members are happy with the service that we give them. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, and the IVMS is gonna help us with that.
Nice. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I would say it's money or budget or however you want to say that. So we've got lots of data centers that are already in Omaha area and more to come. And so we're doubling our generation. So we're vertically integrated. So we're going to go from, you know, like a 1,800 megawatt company to a 3,600 megawatt company, you know, within the next 3 years. And so it takes a lot of money to balance the books and everything and have that rate stable. Is going to be a big challenge. I've been in the utility 28 years, and 17 of those 28 we had no rate increase, right? And so, you know, 5 of the last 6 years we've had a rate increase in anywhere from between 6 and 8%. So, and we've got aging infrastructure, and we have reliability issues, and we got to serve all this new load that we want for economic development. So you mix all this stuff together and try to tell that story to a customer that sees their bill go up, or a board member that's getting pushed by their constituents. It's like, hey, I thought you were going to do this for us. And so that really is going to be the challenge, I think. And we're trying to stay out in front of it with communication and work with our board and work with our customers and outreach. But yeah, it's data centers, it's SPP, bringing more transmission requirements in for us too. So it's a little bit of everything that, and catching up on trees too, right? I mean, it's just a little bit of everything.
Yeah. How about for Upshur? Go ahead.
I'd say managing growth. Right now, Northeast Texas is growing. Lots of people moving in, lots of subdivisions going in. So I think managing that growth is going to be a challenge for the co-op. Think about right-of-way trimming, where you have to deal with one property owner, discuss, you know, an issue or get on his property. You might have to deal with 10 to 20 now. So that I think is going to be a problem that we'll have to challenge ourselves to solve. But not just that, but the addition of miles of line, number of meters, and I think Mark alluded to the fact of what serves them the best. So that comes with additional equipment, more people, more tech, you know, more resources. So I think that's going to be a challenge, and you know that's our senior level and executive level. I guess that's their duty is to make sure that we have the resources, but then when those resources get allocated to us, you know, money essentially, what's our plan? So I think that's going to be a challenge for us as we go through the next 5 to 10 years. So that's my stance on it.
Yeah, I would agree. I believe the area that we're in experiences an influx of people ever since, well, y'all know the thing that happened in 2020. Ever since post-COVID, people wanted into those more rural areas, and they liked our area. And so we're constantly seeing an influx of people. So giving them reliable service, but also keeping it affordable it's something we're constantly at the co-op juggling. Someone is, you know. And so, you know, Matt and I, it's the balancing act of properly maintaining our right-of-ways, doing what, you know, is going to serve our co-op and our members the best. But also, we're in such a connected society now. Everybody, anybody in here can pull up their phone right now, and you can go to Google Maps and you can see a street across the country. I mean, that's just the nature of it. And so, on that same note, our members, they can get online and look up whatever they want to, and they can ask us questions like, well, why, I hear this is a thing. Why are we not doing this? This seems like it would really help our system to not have outages. Of course, we all know there's more to it than that, but that's another challenge.
Yep.
So it's all a balancing act, and I think that's the challenge.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, panel. Appreciate Jade, Mark, Matt, John. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all listening. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll let the next group get ready to go. Thank you so much.